I'm here, John. Just rest.
John lies in bed, recovering from his wound. Eleanor sits by his side, her hand holding his gently. A knock on the door breaks the silence.
John, it's been a while.
We came as soon as we heard.
Days turned into weeks as John recovered from his wound. Eleanor's unwavering presence offered him solace and a glimmer of hope. One afternoon, a knock on the door shattered the quietude. Two figures, their weathered faces marked by countless battles, entered the room. They were Jackal and Fox, former comrades from John's past, their arrival a testament to the loyalty he'd fostered years ago.
We hit them here and here. We can't afford any mistakes.
We've been through worse. We'll get it done.
Just like old times, John.
John, his injured arm a stark reminder of the battle's cost, addressed the assembled group. The tavern's warm glow illuminated the map sprawled before them, pinpoints marking suspected Raven's Claw havens. John, his voice hoarse but laced with newfound resolve, laid out a plan. A daring counter-offensive aimed at dismantling the Raven's Claw from within. The silver shadows, their eyes gleaming with a mix of grief and determination, hung on his every word. Jackal and Fox, veterans of countless operations, shared their expertise, their presence bolstering the group's confidence.
Mrs. Abernathy's sacrifice will not be in vain. We must stand together.
We can do this, all of us.
John, with Eleanor by his side, addressed the entire village gathered in the square. His voice, though weakened, resonated with conviction. He spoke of Mrs. Abernathy's sacrifice, her memory of burning ember fueling their collective purpose. He emphasized the need for unity, for every villager to play a part in reclaiming their peace. A wave of determined murmurs rippled through the crowd, a chorus of agreement. The silver shadows, their numbers bolstered by the villagers' newfound resolve, stood tall, a united front against the encroaching darkness. As the veil of night descended upon Sunhaven, John, his face a mask of grim resolve, led the combined force of silver shadows and villagers towards their target, a dilapidated warehouse on the village's fringes, rumored to be the Raven's Claw's den. Jackal and Fox, shadows flanking John, their weapons gleaming in the moonlight, added a potent edge to the group. The air crackled with tension, a storm brewing on the horizon. As the veil of night descended upon Sunhaven, John, his face a mask of grim resolve, led the combined force towards their target. A wave of creativity, fueled by desperation and a dash of defiance, had swept through the village. Mrs. Peabody, a sprightly octogenarian on her trusty walker, proudly displayed her handiwork. The metal frame bristled with menacingly repurposed razor wire. The tense silence shattered with the sharp crack of breaking glass. John, with a nod to Jackal and Fox, launched a rock through the nearest window. Their cue. The Silver Sentinels, with a collective battle cry that sounded suspiciously like Mrs. Peabody's dentures clacking, charged towards the warehouse doors. A roar of modified engines and the screech of metal on metal filled the air as the scooters slammed into the rickety doors, sending them flying inwards. A shower of dust and debris erupted, momentarily obscuring the view. John, his gaze scanning the battlefield, spotted Varric attempting to slip out a back door. With a roar, he broke from the fray, giving chase. The two men sprinted through the chaos, John pushing his injured shoulder to the limit. He finally cornered Varric in a narrow alleyway behind the warehouse. Varric, his face contorted with a mix of fear and rage, whipped out a knife, its blade glinting in the dim light. John, his chest heaving, stood face to face with Varric. Despite the throbbing pain in his shoulder, his eyes burned with a cold fury. "This ends now, Varric," he growled, his voice laced with the weight of his past transgressions. "Varric, you think you can stop me, old man? You're finished." Varric, circling him like a predator assessing its prey, sneered back. "You think you can stop me, old man? You're finished." Just as Varric lunged forward, a blood-curdling scream cut through the air. Mrs. Peabody, her face flushed with exertion, had somehow managed to maneuver her razor-wire-wielding walker between John and Varric. With a mighty swing, she slammed her walker into Varric's leg, the repurposed razor wire catching him with a sickening scrape. Varric howled in pain, collapsing to the ground, clutching his wounded leg. John stared at Mrs. Peabody, a mixture of amusement and admiration flooding his face. A hearty laugh bubbled up from his chest, momentarily breaking the tension of the fight. The unexpected intervention had thrown the momentum in their favor, and cheers erupted from the Silver Shadows as they witnessed their unorthodox hero. The tide of the battle had shifted. Mr. Davis. Everyone over here! We need to put out these flames before they spread. Mr. Davis, a wiry man with a calm demeanor honed during his years as a firefighter, directed a makeshift water brigade, ensuring any fires started by desperate Raven's Claw members were quickly extinguished. Mr. Hernandez. All right, form a line. We need to funnel them towards John and his team. Mr. Hernandez, a retired police officer with a steely gaze, rallied the younger villagers. He organized them into a human chain, effectively funneling fleeing thugs towards John and his allies. Mrs. Ramirez. Hold still, you're going to be just fine. Mrs. Ramirez, a woman with a gentle touch and a lifetime of experience as an EMT, expertly bandaged a wounded Silver Shadow, her calm demeanor a beacon of reassurance amidst the chaos. John disarmed a fleeing Raven's Claw member, a young man whose bravado had crumbled in the face of the Silver Shadow's unexpected strength. John, easy there, kid, it's over. John met the young man's gaze, a flicker of something akin to pity crossing his face. He saw not just a criminal, but a misguided soul, perhaps not unlike himself in his younger days. Sirens wailed in the distance, heralding the arrival of the police, finally alerted to the commotion. Officers secured the remaining Raven's Claw members and tended to the wounded. John stood by watching as Varric, his face contorted in a mixture of rage and humiliation, was hauled away in a police car. A wave of relief washed over John, a bittersweet mix of victory and loss. He had protected his home, but at a cost. In the quiet aftermath, John sat on his porch, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The sense of weary triumph hung heavy in the air, settling over Sunhaven. John, it's finally over, Eleanor. We did it, Eleanor. Yes, we did, and the whole town knows it now. The Silver Shadows are heroes. Eleanor sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his. The news of their victory had spread like wildfire, with reports of the Silver Shadows dominating the headlines. John, his gaze fixed on the horizon, allowed the recent events to wash over him. The news of the Silver Shadow's victory had spread like wildfire, stories of the unlikely heroes captivating the nation. A gentle buzz from his phone startled him. He answered hesitantly, unsure of who could be calling at this late hour. John, on phone. Hello? Voice, on phone. Mr. Evans, this is Martha Thompson from Elmwood Springs. John, surprised. Martha? What can I do for you? Martha, on phone. John, I saw the news report about you and the Silver Shadows. We have a similar problem here in Elmwood Springs. A gang of young punks calling themselves the El Migos are terrorizing our town. We could really use some help. John, hesitant. Martha, I don't know. We just finished dealing with our own mess here. Martha, on phone. John, listen to me. We saw what you and your friends accomplished. You showed us that even ordinary people can make a difference. We have a lot of spunky folks here in Elmwood Springs, just waiting for a nudge in the right direction. Please, John, we need you. John listened intently, a sense of purpose rekindling within him. He looked at Eleanor, her eyes filled with a mix of understanding and concern. He knew the risks, the potential dangers, but he also saw the hope in Martha's voice. The stories of Sunhaven, of the Silver Shadows, had the potential to inspire others. John, on phone. Martha, listen carefully. I can't promise you I'll come to Elmwood Springs, but I can tell you this. What we did here in Sunhaven, anyone can do. You have the strength, the experience, the courage. All you need is a spark, a plan, and a little ingenuity. John's voice, though weary, held a newfound conviction. He wasn't just talking to Martha. He was speaking to every community struggling against injustice. John, on phone, continued. Tell your friends, your neighbors, your fellow citizens. Gather the fire chiefs, the nurses, the mechanics, the teachers. Everyone has something to offer. You don't need fancy weapons or special training, you just need the will to protect your home. John's words, filled with the wisdom of his years and the power of their recent victory, resonated over the phone line. He wasn't offering a solution, he was offering a flame, a spark to ignite the spirit of resistance in Elmwood Springs. John, on phone, continued, "Martha, you don't need the Silver Shadows. You are the Silver Shadows. Now go out there and show them what you're made of." John hung up the phone, a determined glint in his eyes. The fight for Sunhaven was over, but the fight for justice had just begun. The legend of the Silver Shadows, a testament to the power of community and the unwavering strength of the human spirit, would echo far beyond the sleepy town of Sunhaven. The camera pans out showing John and Eleanor on their porch, the setting sun casting a warm glow on their faces. John, his arm still bandaged but his spirit revived, looks out at the horizon. A flicker of a mischievous smile plays on his lips. We don't see what he's looking at, but the implication is clear. There are more towns out there in need of a nudge, more communities waiting to rise up and claim their power. The story of the Silver Shadows may be over, but John's journey, the journey of empowering others, is just beginning. The ending is left open to interpretation, a call to action for the audience. Will they too take a stand, become Silver Shadows in their own communities?